Oh, snap.
Hello.
Oh, man. Hey, my boy Alan. What's going on, bro? How you feeling?
Oh, I feel weird. I thought I was Jay. I thought I was Jay for a second. What the heck happened?
Yeah.
Thank God. I don't want to like Washington. I hate the color red.
Oh my God! Don't. You say you gotta say Jay's name like like Beetlejuice. You do it like 3 times, he's gonna pop up. He's gonna be in the live or something, man. So crazy, man. Look, yo, I know we're talking NFL, the playoffs, right? But this week in the NBA has started off with a bang, right? Ooh. It's crazy. How in the world can we say Joel Embiid goes for 70 on the 18-year anniversary of Kobe going for 81? That's crazy, right?
Ooh, thank you, Joel Embiid, for helping Chet Holmgren win Rookie of the Year. I appreciate it. Yeah. Well, then again, do you really say, look at this? It's like, oh yeah, he scored 70, but it's against San Antonio. San Antonio's not a good team. I mean, yes, Wemby put up 33. That's impressive, but that just means he can't play defense.
But think about it, though. At least he didn't do 66 like Karl Anthony Towns in a loss to the Hornets, though. What about that?
At least he wasn't forcing his 70 points. It's just, it was kind of within the flow of the game itself. He got it within the flow of the game, whereas they were – they even said in interviews with some of the players, they were trying to get Cat some records and stuff. They were trying to force feed him the ball. I think he missed like 10 shots in the fourth quarter, which is crazy. He only made one other shot in the fourth quarter, so it's like that's kind of a disappointment. Yes, you put up 62. That's impressive, but you lose to Charlotte.
Right, you lose
to Charlotte.
Well, look, hey, Alan, look, he lost to Charlotte, but I tell you what we're going to do. We got this 2-minute mark right going on. Let's hit that, and let's go ahead and jump right into the 30 seconds. Here we go.
This is RecRoom Sports. Olympians carrying the torch, going where they don't go. We ain't lost. From the optics to the topics, we got this with synopsis. Think outside the boxes like Jay on the mic or your boy K Witt. Joe is my coach, T Sweat on the mix. All sports, even if you catch fish like Nate Diaz catches fist. You need to catch this episode, it's a can't miss. We go live and you should subscribe and X's and O's. We made our plan, yo.
Oh, yes, sir. The gang is back. That's right, man. It's your boy. Hey, we in the building, of course. You know how we do each and every Tuesday. That's right, man. We in the building, man. RecRoom Sports, the crew, for another playoff discussion. Oh, man. I'm talking about the NFL playoffs, if you don't know. But look, man, we ain't going to do nothing different. We got a good formula. Sometimes when your mama make cornbread, she don't change nothing. We're going to do just that. We got my guys in the building from last week, and we waiting on Uncle Bo, of course. But y'all know me, man. It's your boy K Witt, man. Your mama #1 draft pick. I just did a little something, in the kitchen. Got a little crock pot, you know what I'm saying? A little bit of that, cayenne pepper, chicken breast, a couple crushed red peppers. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking. It was real nice and it's slow cooked, but you put it on a bun with ranch dressing. Okay, put it on a bun with ranch dressing, a little bit of Parmesan cheese. I'm telling you, it came out. Ooh. Put the you toast the bun on one side in a little pan, little bit of butter. It came out nice. Anyway, y'all know me in food. I'm so sorry. We got to holler at my boy, Alan Perilous from Let's Talk Sports. Alan, what's going on? Thank you again. What's happening with you?
Oh, hey, nothing much. Just, shout out to the town formerly known as Barrow, Alaska. Finally saw sunlight for the first time in 66 days today. So
wow,
only got 1 hour of sunlight. You got 3 next week. Congratulations. Wow. Anybody wonders, complains about the cold and the weather here in the States? Yeah, try living up there. It ain't pretty.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, on top of that, the vampires must love Barrow, Alaska. I'm telling you.
I don't know. I mean, it's a little cold.
I mean, they don't appreciate the temperature, but the no sunlight works.
Hey man, don't forget we gotta jump in with my guy from Football Talk with Bo, one of my favorite West Coast uncles, Bo Crouch in the building. Bo, what's going on, my guy?
Hey, just hanging out with you guys. What's up with you guys?
Yeah, man. Just a regular format. Just hanging out, talking some divisional playoffs, man. And of course, my guy from TikTok, one of the foremost analysts on the platform. I'm talking about. I look at it every other day. Shout out to my guy, Undisputed World Champ. Man, you got this. Got a Facebook popping off, ain't it?
Yeah. I'm surprised people picked up on that, but yeah, I'm all over the place right about now, posting my videos everywhere, and people are responding. So hey, got through a milestone of my own, which shall remain nameless. You know what that milestone is. So, but this is your show, so I'm not gonna steal that shine.
Man, but, man, boy, what? Hold on, bro. Wait. Let me get the sound. Which sound you want? Hold on, wait. Let's get the good sound. What milestone did you pass? This you talking about?
I got my 3rd degree. My absolute 3rd degree. So this is in marketing. So yeah, my last and final one will be this year. So later this year in cybersecurity. So yeah, I'm a computer guy offline. So yeah, this is a great year. On top of being on all of your shows, hey, this is a huge milestone being on here too. Man. So on top of being on your show every single week, another great milestone in a great year. Thank the Lord.
Bro, let me find out you the IT guy on the low, man. My Linux server, I need to come through you to get it straightened out, man. Shoot.
I mean, it's going to be easy to fix. He's just going to tell you to stay away from some of them websites. That's all.
And stop clicking on the pop-ups. I gotta stop clicking on the pop-ups, man. I'm telling you, all that anime pop-up, you be like, ooh, wait, no.
Hey, speaking of which, our other main man, he's still on tour.
Hey man, to be honest with you, shout out to Jay. That's right. RecRoom Sporty, my guy Jay is actually back in the state of South Carolina. He's doing another round of visits to adult entertainment facilities. He's making sure that the floors are level, the mirrors are aligned properly. The lights and the lasers got to hit everything. So Jay is actually doing another day of work. So big shouts out to Jay. I think he's on the road watching us right now. Appreciate you, Jay, for chiming in early today. We did talk about. Yeah. You got to make sure, man. Listen, if the polls are not aligned, it's not a good thing. So Jay's got his level. He's working.
And here I thought he was on a Skype call with Ben Johnson, trying to persuade him to come to Washington.
Hey, look, Jay is a man of many talents. Hey, and he's paying attention too. Jay, that's right there at RecRoom Sports says, congrats, my guy. Congrats.
Thanks, Jay. Appreciate it, man.
So, fellas, man, you know how it goes, man. It's RecRoom Sports. Make sure you tell everybody to like, share, and subscribe. Put your answers in the comments, please, because we're getting closer and closer to the antithesis of the NFL season. But right now, we're going to cross another milestone, man. So, of course, you know how we do it, man. If you know, you know. So, coming up, we're going to start right here at the top, man. Bam. Super Wild Card Weekend. Did the AFC and NFC divisional games live up to our expectations? Now, I'm talking all 4 games. We'll get into them individually, fellas. But I'm saying this was, I'll go first, but to me, this was one of those weekends where there were no blowouts. Every game was relatively close. There was a
Yeah, somewhat.
There was a nail biter in there. There was a nail biter. We had a wide right. Like, was this like, you know, the like one of the peaks of the NFL season? Or are we still waiting to get to the championship round, which is this weekend, and then the Super Bowl in a month? What y'all think?
I mean, if you look at the TV ratings this week, it definitely showed a lot of people were very, very excited for some of the matchups this week. I mean, Kansas City, Buffalo, of course, everybody was expecting that to be an epic showdown again. So that you knew that game was going to get, you know, the most viewership of the weekend. You know, Houston, Baltimore, great viewership from that for a Monday night, for a Saturday night game on ABC, ESPN too, which I believe is ESPN's highest rated game this season was Houston Baltimore. So it shows that, you know, these are two teams that people want to watch. The Texans, like I've said it last week, I say it again, this is going to be a fun team to watch next year. So keep an eye on Houston. Baltimore is looking in that kill or be killed mode right now. So, you know, definitely teams you want to watch. And the NFC side as well. Were some good games. Packers played their heart out and, you know, really in a lot of ways outplayed San Francisco in that game. But, you know, kudos to the networks and putting on a good schedule. A lot of people weren't too crazy about it at first, but, you know, they were able to draw great viewership this weekend. So kudos to the NFL for that.
Yeah, it turns out those script writers knew what they were doing, right?
Definitely.
I'm going to have to find the guy who's writing that script.
It's Vince Russo. No, I'm just joking.
So, lo and behold, he's the same guy who's been charged since 1996.
Yeah.
They wanted some of that old school stuff this weekend. So, Champ, this weekend, what were your thoughts on just overall as a whole the divisional round, man? How you felt about it?
Hey, we saw a lot of exciting things. We saw the quarterbacks of the day versus the quarterbacks of the future. And that is, I mean, Jordan Love versus Brock Purdy, that was a matchup in itself. And if you really want to be honest with you, the team itself, I won't say Jordan Love, they kind of outplayed San Francisco, but that's another story for another day later on in the segment. But I have to say, there was really no super blowouts. There was no 40 burgers, as you would say, K-Witt.
Yeah.
It was all of it, although it got away from the Houston Texans at the end of the game. We got to see the resilience of CJ Stroud. We got to see, you know, how real resilient that the Kansas City Chiefs were, because this is arguably one of the worst, and really you can't compare it. This is arguably one of the worst teams that Patrick Mahomes has played for during this time. So to him to be that resilient going on the road in Buffalo of all places, Buffalo is not an easy place to win at. I mean, as we all know, it's not an easy place to win at. So to see so many teams overcome the adversity on the road and to see some near upsets, like we almost saw a couple of upsets, see that they definitely lived up to the hype. Hey, it's going to be exciting to see what happens next year. I mean, it's safe to say that you can have several teams with winning records next year and not even get to the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, script writers were like, yeah, you guys are going to win, but you're going to shit your pants while you're doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
No, this week's games were great, right? They were good watch. They were mostly close. You know, you watched the Texans kind of show that they're inexperienced, right? You know, and they were going against a team that, you know, at the beginning of the season, I said was probably going to win this Super Bowl, right? So, I mean, this is a Ravens team that is built to win, right? Like they added all the pieces they needed. So did they draw a little bit of the short straw to see them in the divisional round? Yeah, maybe. But man, if you're a Texans fan, you have to be excited about what it is they have moving forward, because, you know, they go from worst to first in their division. They win a playoff game. They're ahead of schedule, and they have not only cap room, but they have a lot of draft picks. If you're a Texans fan, you got to be excited where they're headed. You know, like I said, the Ravens are built to win now. You look at, you know, San Fran and Green Bay. Green Bay was another one where they were kind of ahead of schedule. I'm not a big Love believer, but I mean, he really kind of tied them together towards the end of the game end of the season. But, he channeled his inner Brett Favre and threw across his body directly to the other team. So that was the most Green Bay ending to a game you could have. But they had their opportunities. They actually did outplay San Fran. So, I really liked all of the games this weekend. It really sets up a great championship round.
Yeah, see what I was going for, and Bo, you kind of hit the nail on the head with that right there. It wasn't like somebody literally stood out and was like, all right, they don't belong. Like this, you got by the skin of your teeth for the first 2 games, but this is the game, you know what I'm saying? Each team solidified them being there and possibly being there in the future. And of course, since we're talking about the future, let's go ahead and get right into it, boys. Houston 20, Baltimore Ravens 34. I got Dallas in there. I got to take that out. But the whole point
I was going to say we lost last week. We don't play round 2. We don't play round 2.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
You should know this by now.
They was getting on me for like a whole week and some change about Pittsburgh. So here we go. Bam. All right. This is the battle of the doubted quarterback. What do you say, Bo? My bad.
I said it was a bad enough loss. You got to eat it 2 weeks in a row.
They won't let me forget about it.
You got to remind me. Got to remind me every week, man.
Me and you both. You know what I'm saying? I got to eat it. You got to eat it. But the battle of the doubted quarterbacks.
At least you got a good coach.
Thanks. I appreciate that. I like how you do that in there. But should this be looked at as a win for the Texans, regardless of the final score?
Oh, hell yeah.
Of course.
I mean, come on now. No one expected Houston to be this good this year. Because everybody, and I'm sure a lot of people, most of the people on, whether it's this platform or other like network shows, they're like, oh, Bryce Young's the guy. Go with him at number 1. You want to get Bryce Young. CJ Stroud's kind of iffy. I said all along, CJ Stroud's going to be the best quarterback in this class. Yep. After watching him play against Georgia and picking apart that Georgia defense, this kid's going to be special in the NFL. He needs to get in the right system and the right coach. Like Robert said, getting in the playoffs was a win. They took advantage of the fact that Jacksonville, shot themselves in the foot. The Colts, they were another surprise team that kind of came out of nowhere, even with them losing Anthony Richardson, early on in the season. Gardner Minshew played well. The South in general was kind of surprising this year, aside from Tennessee, but it was still fun to watch this team. It was fun to watch this team. CJ came into his own. He proved why he is one of the better, was the best rookie quarterback in this class, and he's already being talked about as one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL now after what he's done this season. Definitely rookie of the year for sure. There was even talks of him being MVP for a little bit. So he played that well. Had Tank Dell not gone down, maybe he's still in that conversation. So, this team's gonna. I said it already. This team is gonna be fun to watch the next few years. I might actually get to see him in person if I decide to shell some money out because they are coming to Dallas next year. So. If I decide to take an entire paycheck and go spend a weekend in Dallas to watch the Texans play the Cowboys, I might actually get to see him play next year, which would be fun. So I'm even the thought of that kind of gets me excited about that because you can't say that about the Texans in previous years. Even when they were playoff teams, you're like, oh, this team is good, but they can't get over the hump. If they figure things out within the next couple of years, this team is going to be for real. Like this. They're going to be amongst like Kansas City, Baltimore, those teams. So keep an eye on Houston for the next couple of years.
How weird is that to say?
That is super weird. This is very weird.
Hey.
Rob says the Cowgirls are going to lose that game. Uh-oh.
Right.
Well, I mean, what month is it played in? He may not be wrong.
If it's December, yeah. Well, yeah. I think that's our extra AFC game is Houston coming into town. So because we got to play we got Pittsburgh next year, so we got the AFC North, and Houston's our extra AFC game next year. So
fear the rebirth. I'm just warning you. Just fear the rebirth. I don't know what's going to happen. I feel it coming. Champ, what you got going on? What you thinking for as far as the Texans Baltimore Ravens game? The reason, and of course, I was going to get into it, but the doubted QBs, past and present, everybody remembers that vision of Lamar Jackson with his mama, with his head down, going through in the green room like, nobody's picking me. And he got up there and said, I'm gonna bring a championship. Yeah. And what got me was, thinking about CJ Stroud and how people doubted him. So these two formats together, like these two players together, like should the Texans like look at CJ Stroud, kind of like how we now see Lamar, like we got it. You know what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying with that one?
Yeah. To be honest with you, I kept telling people this the whole entire time. And Kate, you could probably attest to this because you was probably watching my page last year doing the college football playoff. I said from day one, CJ Stroud should have been the number 1 overall pick because the way he came out there and diced up my Georgia Bulldogs with that defense that we had, he was chopping us up like a barbecue sandwich. And I'm not even gonna lie to you. So the way he was doing us out there, and if it hadn't been for Marvin Harrison Jr., and I know Georgia Bulldogs fans don't want to hear this, if it had not been for Marvin Harrison Jr. getting knocked out of that game and they didn't let him come back in, we'd probably lose that game because they was firing on all cylinders. But, I mean, the Houston Texans should be super, super proud. I mean, there's no reason to hold your head down. You overachieved because, remember, people wasn't talking about C.J. Stroud coming into this year. People was talking about another AFC South quarterback by the name of Trevor Lawrence. They thought he was going to make the elevation in order to get the MVP.
I know. I was going to say there's a couple people that I heard say that he might have an MVP season.
A lot of sports commentators were talking about Trevor Lawrence has an MVP, may have an MVP caliber season. This is his second year with Doug Peterson, second year in the system. They went out there and got him Calvin Ridley. Christian Kirk was playing a little bit more this year. Travis Etienne was coming into his own a little bit more. So, hey, people was talking about Trevor Lawrence. They wasn't talking about CJ Stroud. And for him and that team to capitalize on that collapse, nothing short of spectacular because guess what? You got to see the resolve. Like, yes, we're going to win this division in this last game. And to go and beat the number 1 defense statistically in the league in the Cleveland Browns, when your first home playoff game, to beat them and then to go on the road and kind of hang in there in the first half, because in the first half, people don't understand they was hanging in there. Then the second half came, Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens just came out and said, you know what, we've let these guys hang around a little bit too long, and they went on ahead and put them out of their misery at a certain point. But $70 million.
The Ravens came in and said, sit down, little buddy.
Yeah, basically. So if you think about this, you got to think about this. They have almost $80 million in cap space next year. And they was top 10 in defense and they was top 10 in offense. Can you imagine what they're going to do with some of that roster next year? I mean, and the main thing people don't understand, the main thing they was missing on that offensive side was the running game. Because, Devin Singletary, he's good, but he's not great. So they draft like a Blake Corum or bring, let's say, a Saquon Barkley to that roster. Can you imagine with that pressure being off of CJ Stroud, what he's going to be? Because you don't want to turn CJ Stroud into a Josh Allen where he's playing A, B, C, and D. Do not do that if you know, like I know Houston. It's so into the next Josh Allen. Bring him a running game to take that pressure off of so he can capitalize on play action so he can be able to get the ball to those weapons. But top 10 in offense, top 10 in defense, your rookie year with a coach like DeMeco Ryans and that staff, you have nothing to be ashamed of. You overachieved, and you overtook the Jacksonville Jaguars from the division title in just 1 year. You have nothing to be ashamed of.
Yeah, and I kind of blame the running game problems on the previous, not the previous coaching staff with Lovie Smith, but the one beforehand. They just kind of ran Dameon Pierce into the ground to the point where he's just kind of non-existent now. So I kind of blame that on them. You get Dameon, and then he did not have a good game against Baltimore, especially in special teams. It was not a good game for him. If they had found anything similar to that, I mean, they did with Devin Singletary, like you said, had they found any semblance of what Dameon Pierce was, this would be a scary team. But yeah, like you said, go get like a Saquon, go get Derrick Henry, maybe go get a running back in the draft, maybe the Brooks kid from Texas. I know he's coming off a bad injury, but work him in little by little. That could be something that could benefit you in the next couple of years. Or even Blake Corum, Dylan Edwards, if he's coming out, one of those two from Michigan. So yeah, find a running game. And really the only blemish on their record this year was losing to Carolina, which Bryce Young can at least hang his head on that and say he at least beat CJ Stroud. But that was really the one. If there's one criticism for Houston this year, it would be that loss to Carolina. But other than that, spectacular year by the Texans, and like I said, they're going to be fun to watch for years to come.
Absolutely. Well, and so to address one of Rob's questions here on whether or not he has that sophomore slump. I feel like he probably won't because of the way he played. He didn't do anything that was extraordinarily athletic, right? He didn't come out and do anything that was crazy. He played smart football. He protected the ball, made good reads. Those are things you can carry year to year, right? Like if he came in and just had some crazy athletic plays, you don't get that every year. You don't get that every game, right? Like that's an opportunity-based situation. Whereas the way he played was just really good football. And so that you can carry year to year. So I wouldn't worry too much about him having a sophomore slump. The problem would be if you expect him to jump too much, because he's probably not going to do that. He's going to be that. He's going to be what he was this year, and he might, kind of elevate pieces of his game. I think the only thing that could really get him in trouble as far as looking at possible sophomore slump type numbers is if he starts to overthink the game, right? If he starts to focus on things that he saw this year and incorporates that instead of saying, hey, maybe that was a one-off, do what I'm supposed to do here. So basically, if he gets in his own way, it'd be about the only way I see that happening.
Kind of like Matt Ryan did his second year. No, I'm asking.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's exactly it, right? Like, so I was on a morning show and we were discussing this, and the other host on there was comparing it to playing pool, right? And when you first play pool, you figure out how to line up your shots, right? And then you get pretty decent at that. And then you start to learn putting English on the ball, right? Well, then you get comfortable enough with that sometimes you forget to just line up your shot, right? Like you don't always need English on the ball, right? So that can be similar to, if a quarterback goes into the following year and tries to get cute with things that they've seen, as opposed to, just go out and execute.
Just for the love of God, don't become Dak Prescott. That's all I ask.
I mean,
because like I said, because Dak, not trying to get on a Cowboys tangent here, but Dak's only had 2 good years throughout his career, his rookie year and last year. He kind of tapered off. He kind of tapered off after his rookie year. I don't want to see that for CJ. I don't think I see that from CJ because I see more leadership qualities from CJ Stroud than I do Dak Prescott. That's just
you got to be super excited they're running it back then, huh?
Oh, wonderful. A plus. But yeah, that's why I'm not really worried. I know it can happen with it. Some quarterbacks go through that sophomore slump, but I'm not really worried with CJ because he's already kind of become the leader of this team. He's already kind of like, taking everybody, come follow me. We're going to go do great things together. Like him and Will Anderson have already started to kind of, buddy it up there in Houston, and him and Tank Dell are like that. So he is the leader of that team now. So I really don't see it happening. It could happen, but I think his leadership quality is what's going to keep it from happening.
Yeah. Man, well, just to lock these things in, y'all know I got to come with the stats right quick. CJ Stroud, 19 of 33, 175. Now, I know that doesn't sound indicative of a good game from a quarterback, but remember, this is against the Baltimore Ravens' vaunted defense. Okay, let's keep that in mind. Lamar went out there and did 16 of 22 for 152. So it's kind of as if they're on a very similar plane with one another. There were 2 touchdowns from Lamar, no touchdowns for CJ, but still, yet this was a tight game. And look, Alan, I know you said you're looking forward to maybe possibly going to Dallas and watching that, but them ticket prices is creeping up.
Oh, are they?
I'm telling you, if it was,
I'm pretty sure a cheap ticket is like $150.
I tell you what, man, just go get one of those orange vests with the yellow lining and put a cowboy hat on and just say I work with the crew and just try and sneak.
They might believe that. Who knows?
Right. And, hey, listen, and this is one of those things I want to throw in there because I'm watching all the interviews, and I one of those things that I caught on was like when QBs are locked in technically or focused. That interview with Lamar Jackson and the post game, they was like, yeah, Lamar. So are you locked in? He was so locked in. I'm locked in. I'm locked in right now. Like he could play again at the same pace, the same effort at that point in time. So so for what we understand, the voting has already been done. The MVP trophy has already got a name on it, and it looks like it could quite possibly be headed to Baltimore one more time, my boys. All right, so let's go ahead and slide on to the next.
I do want to mention this. I love CJ. The fact that he had to go up against the 2 best defenses in the league in back-to-back weeks shows you how good this kid is really going to be in the future too. So, just wanted to throw that out there.
Listen, you got it 100% right. That's why at the very beginning of my statement, I was saying the Texans should be looking at CJ Stroud almost the same way that Baltimore looked at Lamar when everybody was down. Even though CJ got drafted way higher, everybody was looking at Lamar like, I don't think so. I don't know. And he got up there and promised he was going to be a force to be reckoned with. And I think
this just goes to show you don't need to pass an IQ test to be great in the NFL.
Oh man, you ain't got to pass no.
Man.
Who would have thought, huh?
Russell Wilson cries today. Robert, why does Russell Wilson cry today? I'm lost. What happened? Please tell us in the comments. But we're gonna keep it going. All right. So the Green Bay Packers and the San Francisco 49ers, 21-24. So it was a pretty good game, you guys, if I would say so myself. What did we love and not love about seeing the 49ers play with their food? Because I thought this was a little too close for comfort for the San Francisco 49ers. Bo, I'll let you take this one first, bro.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if you're watching the game, the Packers probably actually outplayed the Niners for the most part. It was a couple of key mistakes that really made the difference in this game. And, key mistakes got capitalized on by the more experienced team, right? This is not new territory for the Niners. So unfortunately for Green Bay, they come up a little bit short, but man, you got to love how they played throughout this thing.
What you got to say about that, champ?
Hey, I got to say this, and we gonna leak ahead just a little bit. The media already talking about that Brock Purdy don't play as well when Deebo Samuel is not there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's just throw that out there real quick.
Bruh.
But I mean, you have to think to yourself. I think there was a little bit of rust involved. We often see that against some divisional round team because they've been resting some of their starters throughout the week. Leading up to that, it's like a 2-week layoff, especially if you.
I was going to say they had like 20 days of rest.
Yeah,
I think
20 days of rest, and sometimes that rust can get to you. So it probably took them a little bit too long to warm up, and plus the weather was bad, which is not unusual in Candlestick. I mean, Levi Stadium. My bad, showing my age. But
get with the times.
Yeah,
That's right.
So Levi Stadium. So I mean, I didn't necessarily like what I saw against the Niners. That was a little bit too close for comfort. But it's going to be very, very interesting to see what they're going to do against a team like the Lions. Because the thing is, people are selling the Lions short at this point. But if you really look at it, on offense, and we'll get into it when we start talking about it, they're the same team. But we'll address that.
Pretty close.
Thank you for dropping that bomb. Because Because of course we're gonna get into the predictions about the next game coming up a little closer. Alan, man, what you thinking about Green Bay and San Fran?
But I think the Niners just got too emotional in this game. You saw a lot of dumb penalties that they made, a lot of personal foul penalties that really almost cost them this game. You know, giving Green Bay second chances. Like you said, the Packers made it a little bit too close for comfort. You know, oddly enough, I was actually cheering for Green Bay because, there's the stat they brought up is that Brett Favre never beat Dallas and Aaron Rodgers never beat San Francisco. For Jordan Love to beat both teams in back-to-back weeks, that would have been something, wouldn't it?
Hey, time out. The next game that we're going to play is take a shot every time Allen says Dallas. Okay.
Yeah. We'll go ahead and do that. But yeah, I mean, kind of like what the Texans are. I'm excited to kind of see what the Packers can be in the future because I think, they're the youngest team in the NFL. They got a lot of good weapons. That have stepped up this year. Jordan Love kind of looks like he is the real deal. I would expect him, maybe get a little bit of an extension, maybe not like a big one, but maybe a little bit of an extension for how good he's played this year. Their defense, I think Joe Barry might be on his way out the door. Get a new defensive coordinator in there, fix some stuff up on that defense. You're going to be just fine. Green Bay is going to be challenging for this division next year, I feel. So it's going to be fun watching the NFC North.
So what do you think they do with that contract? Because, I mean, he is coming up to the end of that rookie deal. You've only seen him play good football for half a season.
I think for right now, you got to let him play out his rookie deal. I mean, like you said, he only played a good half of football. It was a great half of football. He kind of looks like, he could be the heir apparent, but if he starts out hot, it's justified. You can go ahead and pay him then. I don't know exactly who they're playing next year, but if it's a somewhat decent schedule and he starts off pretty well, I think you got yourself a third, not necessarily a Hall of Famer, but a third straight franchise quarterback that you hadn't had to go search for so many years. So
I mean, that pick he threw looked an awful lot like
that looked like Brett Favre, yeah.
But we got to also take into consideration this is his first full season. This is his first full season, and for him to make it, I mean, they had a horrible first half of the season. And for him to
I was going to say, you look at the other two, Brett's second full season in Green Bay, lose to Dallas in the postseason. Aaron was the heartbreaker game against Arizona in what was it, double overtime where he fumbled it and Arizona took it back. So, they ended up, getting it together, in a couple of years. Both ended up winning Super Bowls. Maybe the same could happen for Jordan Love. Who knows? But it just seems to work out that way for Packers quarterbacks. So I'm not really too worried about it. If he starts off terrible next year, then I'll be concerned if I'm a Packers fan. But for right now, it looks like everybody was dead wrong about Jordan Love coming into this year.
But if you think about it, everybody was wrong about Aaron Rodgers too, because remember his very first year, he's the first Green Bay quarterback to ever start in his first full year and make the playoffs. Nobody else did that. Not Brett Favre, not Aaron Rodgers. Remember, people wanted Aaron Rodgers out of town after their first year. Remember, he went 6-10. I know that because people was complaining about it where I was. I was across the water. People started about Aaron Rodgers. I said, it's just his first year. Yeah. You're just coming off the year. And remember, Brett Favre had made a couple of NFC championships. But it's just his first year as a full-time starter. You're just now getting started. You're just learning the offense. You're just now getting into that mode where you're getting off the bus, not putting on your hat, but putting on your helmet. So you're learning some of this offensive stuff and the offensive philosophy on the fly, although you've been learning it the past few years. So for him to do something that not even Bart Starr, not even Don Mikowski, Brett Favre, or Aaron Rodgers to do in his first year and go out there and just put on a show, it's flat out impressive. But I think he should be on that. Hey, keep him on that prove it deal. See if you can do it again next year, because this division next year, especially if Chicago draft is terrible as I think they are.
Ooh.
Damn, Slade.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got the degrees, right? You can attest to the fact that, theory is different than practical application. So for him to come out, despite being in the building for 3 years or 2 years, whatever, actually getting on the field is a little different.
Yes, sir.
Mhm.
Oh man, I mean, hey, shout out to my guy Tanner Tan, man, what it do? Brought the GOAT back on. Oh, okay. Yeah, you see we got the home team here, Tanner. That's what we do. So this was what I was thinking, like, nobody believed. Once again, this is a doubters quarterback divisional round right here. Nobody believed in Lamar. Nobody believed in CJ Stroud. Nobody believed in Jordan Love. Like
Nobody believed in Brock Purdy.
I swear you was about to say Dak Prescott, but
No,
yeah,
no. We're done with him.
but somehow, some way, these
Let's go.
quarterbacks and these organizations, I'm sorry, these quarterbacks and these organizations are doing a really good job at developing talent. And Green Bay, of course, is right at the helm. San Francisco, I don't want to talk about how they kind of had a few consecutive malign seasons where it comes to quarterback in San Francisco, but maybe with this new regime, San Francisco will fall into that. Hey, we developed him. Hey, we trusted him. We gave him things that he knows how to do. Because I think a lot of times, in my opinion, and I'm going to go, you know how I do. I got to go to the stats and I'm going to shut up. But I think a lot of times, in my opinion, sometimes these offensive coordinators, they get so high and mighty on themselves that they bring in the system that is not made for a quarterback. Like, oh, well, it worked in San Diego, which, of course, they're no longer in San Diego. It should work here, but the quarterback in San Diego is not the quarterback in Green Bay.
So we are going to talk about Russ? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah. So, hey, look, man. Hey, we can't even say Bronco Country no more, man. I don't know where he's at. He might be in Atlanta with Sierra, just chilling.
Broncos country. Oh my!
Nobody believes the Chiefs could turn it around. Here we go. We didn't even get to that game yet, and Tanner's turning us on. But once again, y'all, let's check out the stats. So Jordan Love, 21 of 34, 194, 2 TDs, but 2 interceptions. One of those looked really Brett Favre-like, according to Bo. And Brock Purdy, 252, 1 touchdown. 8, and the quarterback ratings are not indicative of what actually was going on. But here we go again. This is something I did want to get to. CMC, Christian McCaffrey, a possible MVP candidate out there, John. 17 carries, 98 yards, 2 touchdowns, and then goes for 7 receptions and 30 yards. I mean, is there anything that this man can't do? Like somewhere in there, like in the 90s, it was like white man can't jump. In the 2000s, it was white man can't run. I think he's shutting all of that up. Because I really remember there being like a huge campaign for, if Christian McCaffrey was black, he would be a number 1, top 10 overall pick in that.
I think he was number 8. I think Carolina took him at 8.
Yeah, Carolina took him at 8, but I mean, he was going to be like top 5.
Mm-hmm.
And he was playing at Stanford. You know what I'm saying? So somewhere in there, this is another player who's proving the doubters wrong. I don't think anybody thought it would have turned into what it turned into when he came from Carolina. But hey, C-Mac is the man out here, and it's the MVP trophy supposedly has already been picked out. But man, offensive player of the year, God dog it, Chris McCaffrey's a little bit everywhere, right?
I mean, yeah, he's definitely going to be in consideration for it because he's had an outstanding year. He's kind of like one of those hybrid running backs that we had in the 2000s, kind of a Marshall Faulk-esque type of running back, where he can run it really well and he can catch it out of the backfield. Even to go back to the 90s, what Roger Craig did for those 49er teams back when he was running it and catching it out of the backfield as well. So, he's kind of that throwback. And, again, yeah, he was kind of criticized because of his height, because of, him coming out of Stanford, him not, the color of his skin, I guess you could say, which now that's a trend with cornerbacks because we got a white cornerback who's coming out in the draft this year. So who knows what that's going to happen. But, it's a joy to watch him play. I know he's playing in San Francisco. I despise the 49ers with a burning passion, but I just love watching this guy play. I'm glad that he's been healthy the last 2 years because we've really gotten to see what Christian McCaffrey can do in a full season, and that's just been fun to watch. So I'm glad he's been healthy at the very least.
No, that's been the craziest thing about him, right? And to Rob's point in the comments is, he went from glass to iron, right? Like he went from dude is always hurt, and maybe he just didn't like the Panthers. I don't know.
It's that water. It's that water in Carolina. I'm telling you.
You're just like, maybe this place ain't for me. But I mean, man, he has absolutely balled out the last 2 years. So I mean, you gotta like his ability to turn that around. I would imagine the Panthers are really bummed that they moved off him, since apparently all it took was getting off that team to get healthy. But but yeah, I mean, phenomenal player. I hate seeing him twice a year though.
Right?
Hey, I gotta say this though. You gotta think about this. Isn't this who another running back out of Stanford really got, screwed over when he came out? And that was a guy by the name of Toby Gerhardt.
Oh, yeah.
And I believe that if they would have gave him a chance, he would have done a lot more. I don't think they gave him the proper shot. So
yeah, it doesn't help when you got AP sitting in front of you either. So
not only that. I mean, I think a couple of teams should have took him before.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of teams should have took him before, because he was a lot. If you really look at Christian McCaffrey, he was a lot bigger. This dude was 235 coming out of Stanford, and he can run and he can catch just like him. So can you imagine if the right offensive system would have gotten him and they would have used him like they did Christian McCaffrey? I mean, and if you really think about it, people
I'll tell you what, he would have done great in Baltimore.
Yes, and if you think about it, people talk about glass to iron. Hey, the only thing they had in Carolina was him and Cam Newton.
Yeah.
Hey, Greg Olsen was gone. Kevin Benjamin, hey, the story tells itself. So you got to think about, how it was in Carolina. They had no offensive line. They're in the great words of the coach from Friday Night Lights. You guys are not pass blocking. You just move it over to the side. So that's how that went. But for Christian McCaffrey to be in this offensive system the way he is, and it's tailor-made. It is tailor-made for someone of his ability. If they was to give him the ball 300 times a year, he probably rushed for 2,000 yards. He probably rushed for 2,000 yards, especially in this zone blocking. Mike Shanahan, West Coast.
He's the definition of West Coast running back.
Yes, he would have been. He would be running things. So
I do like that you said the Panthers' offensive line was bad. Like, it isn't hot trash currently.
And you got 1,000, and you got 1,000 with that offensive line, and because they was taking pock shots at Cam Newton. They were taking pock shots at, and that was the whole reason for his injury. So, hey, for him to do that in that offensive line to go 1,000, because if you remember correctly, Roger Craig, when he was doing the 1,000 season, 49ers was at the height of their power back in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Marshall Faulk did 1,000.
Greatest show on turf.
Going to the Super Bowl, greatest show on turf. For you to do that, they didn't have another number one receiver. They didn't have a number one tight end. They didn't have an Orlando Pace on that team. They didn't have a tight end. They didn't even have a Ricky Prohl on that team. Mm-hmm. So for you to do that in that type of environment when nobody's on that team is flat out amazing.
Mm-hmm. Well, basically all they had was a defense, Cam Newton and CMC.
That's it.
Yep.
And then that's how come when people give Cam Newton flack during that year, it's like they were all they had. It was either Cam Newton or Christian McCaffrey. You had to go after one of them. And guess what? Cam was injured that year. Who was you really going to go after? You couldn't key in on Christian McCaffrey too much, or you couldn't key in on Cam too much because, that zone scheme was going to hurt you either in every way.
Man, listen, I tell everybody right now, if it was up to me and we could go back to that time where the Panthers were running that, that P8, that pass handoff every 20 seconds, and it was D'Angelo Williams and Cam Newton and of course, they didn't have any wide receivers, to speak of, but if that was the time when Cam Newton was at the height of his powers, which of course he won his MVP off of. Speaking of stats and somebody from the past, is like if you squint your eyes and go like this, like I see LaDainian Tomlinson in that Christian McCaffrey vibe every time I'm watching him play. Like LT was really dynamic, with those charges, man, out of the backfield, not Kevin Gates, but, with Gates blocking, like it was a ridiculous time to be alive. And then, of course, he produced the same effect when he went to the Jets, even though the Jets weren't all that good. It was a lot of space for LT. So kudos to see Mac out there, possibly offensive player of the year, maybe, but not the MVP, because we think we know who the MVP is up to this point. Man, some more games we got to go to in the divisional rounds, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. It's the RecRoom Sports Podcast. We got Alan, we got Bo, and we got Champ. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and follow everybody on the scrolling joint down there at the bottom. There goes their names, my name. Shout out to Jay. Jay, I got your tape measure. I forgot to give it back to you. Your tape measure, Jay, because you got to make sure that the pole and the floor is aligned so that when they do the thing where they drop down, it's at the right space. Anyway, going on to the next game, gentlemen. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Detroit Lions. Now, this was one of those games where, once again, here goes some more top ranking, highly touted drafted quarterbacks who all of a sudden nobody believed in, and they're producing years later. Tampa Bay Buccaneers 23, Detroit Lions 31. Out of Baker Mayfield and Jared Goff, which former number one pick has their current organization raised to a new level of success? Now, just take into account where they came from and how many other teams they were at, and who's the quarterback on the old teams. Like, which quarterback are we thinking is like really done put them in a new space so far? Alan, you can go ahead and take this one first, my guy.
Well, I think the obvious answer is Jared Goff, because you make that trade with Stafford. Detroit had a decent team, but for some reason they just couldn't get over the hump. And they started out poorly. Yes, 13-1. Dan Campbell coming in. It didn't look good at first. But kudos to that organization. They made some great draft picks. They brought in some great guys to kind of help fill that. And Jared Goff's kind of proven that he can play in the NFL. That Super Bowl with the Rams wasn't a fluke. He's done great for this team. He's kind of helped revitalize this organization a little bit. Now he has a top-tier tight end only in his rookie year in Sam Laporta. Amon-Ra St. Brown is a great route runner. He's one of the better wide receivers in the league. The defense, aside from their secondary, is not bad. Dan Campbell's a pretty good coach. And not to say that Tampa wasn't, shocking to see them be in this position, because I'm pretty sure everybody had them picked to be dead last because of Baker Mayfield being the quarterback. But yeah, so I would if I had to choose, I would say both, to be honest, because there was no expectation for Tampa this year. I mean, there was for Detroit, and they kind of exceeded that, and they got to the NFC Championship game. But there was no expectation for Tampa at all, and they not only won the division, but they beat a really good Philadelphia team in the postseason. So kudos to them for that. I know the Eagles kind of just flat out didn't play in that game, but by standards, they're still a playoff team, and they were still pretty good on paper. So got to give credit where credit is due. And they both there was only 4 quarterbacks in the history of the league that have won a playoff game with 2 different teams, and now you can add both Baker Mayfield and Jared Goff to that mix. So kudos to both of them. I would lean more Detroit personally, but I think both of them deserve credit for what they've done this year.
Definitely, bro. Definitely. Bo, what you thinking, man? Which of these two? And remember, everybody, especially the people watching out there, like, share, and subscribe. Put it in the comments. There are no wrong answers for this one right now, because this is once again, these are all, just about everybody is a quarterback that nobody believed in the last couple rounds of these playoffs. So, Bo, out of the two, Baker Mayfield or Jared Goff, or both, like Alan said, which number one pick has their organization raised to a new level of success, bro?
Yeah, no, I agree with Alan here. I mean, obviously there was pressure on the Lions to do what they're doing, and they rose to the bar, right? Like they came up, rang the bell. They're like, we are that team. And then, when
it really started opening week when they beat Kansas City.
Absolutely. I mean, they've been able to gut out wins when things weren't going well. That's championship football, right? Is you got to string together wins when things aren't perfect. And they have, issues. That's a flawed team. Their secondary will give up yards. I mean, there's things with Detroit that are a problem, and they find ways to overcome those and win those close games. So, I mean, that's championship level football. And then when it comes to Tampa, I mean, again, I'm not a huge Baker guy, right? Like it's, I think he's probably some of the problem. But
he's an acquired taste.
Well, the thing is he actually has a good skill set, and when he's the underdog, he plays well, and when he's feeling himself, he plays like crap. So like, he's really hard to pick because he can come out and throw a few touchdowns, or he can come out and throw some picks. And if you are picking his team, you're just like, man, like I don't know. I mean, I'll win the Pick'em championship again, and I probably picked Tampa wrong every week. Like it was just not but that's Baker for you. And so when you look at going into this game, you're just like, okay, is he going to be the Baker that throws touchdowns? Is he going to be throw picks? And he came out and was both, but they overachieved. So they did end up going a lot further than anybody thought they were, certainly further than I thought they would.
Definitely.
I will say this is like the first time since that playoff year with Cleveland that we finally saw the Oklahoma Baker Mayfield, because he hasn't been around for the last few years. We finally saw what kind of success he could have. And it all started when they found their run game. When Rachaad White started running the ball really well, you started to see Tampa's offense kind of open up a little bit. Baker took more shots down the field. Cade Otton became a big part of the offense. So, really, and I say this all the time, for Baker to have success, give him a good run game. He had it in Cleveland. He had it at Oklahoma. Give him a good run game so he can work that play action pass. He's gonna be a serviceable quarterback for somebody. He might come back to Tampa next year. Who knows?
Wait, you guys are saying he didn't have a run game in Carolina? I'm just kidding.
He had it for 4 weeks, and then it got traded to San Francisco.
That was a complete curve. I do not condone him being in Carolina. I almost just blank it out. I'd rather him be in LA. Champ, your thoughts on these two quarterbacks and, of course, their position now after the games have been played?
To be honest with you, I want to say Baker. My heart wants to say Baker Mayfield because, they casted him out in Cleveland, and really look at their quarterback situation right now. It ain't looking good because you got to pay. If Deshaun Watson does not perform next year, if he doesn't perform next year, there's going to be a lot of questions. There's already a lot of questions on whether this is the worst trade in NFL history. I still have to go with the Carson Palmer trade to the Oakland Raiders, but I forever digress upon that because, hey,
let's not forget Albert Hainsworth.
Absolutely. Yeah, I wouldn't have paid him in water, but that's just true. But,
I'm just gonna say, if Deshaun is terrible next year, you need to hit that laugh track a lot because it went straight to the bank.
because you got to think about this. I mean, and we'll get more into this later when we talk about a little bit more about Baltimore. When you think about how many teams were clamoring to get Deshaun Watson, it was a shame. And for them to say, and I will never, ever forget this about a lot of sports commentators and especially the Cleveland Browns, we need an adult in the room.
Yes.
Okay, so you get rid of fun-loving Baker Mayfield, who only celebrates on the sideline, who only says I'm dangerous in the media when he has a good game, which things are expected for young quarterbacks to do. Have fun. At least you're not around here hanging out with Drake every week like Johnny Manziel, which is another case within itself. But you get rid of Baker Mayfield, who won you your first playoff game in, I don't know, 30 years.
Since like 94. Since like 94, I think.
Yes, last time that the Cleveland Browns had won a playoff game, the run and shoot was still being ran in Houston. So, I mean, you get rid of
last time the Browns won a playoff game, Bill Belichick was their coach.
So,
Yeah,
to be fair, though, they wanted an adult in the room. And as I recall, you have to be an adult to get that kind of massage.
Points for Bo on that one right there. Points for Bo.
Good night, everybody.
It's late, so come on.
But hey, they said they wanted an adult in the room. They got rid of Baker Mayfield. They traded him at his request, might I add. They traded him at his request because, hey, why wouldn't I request a trade? You're going to get another quarterback. I'm not going to waste my time being here trying to back him up when I really don't want to be here and I know I'm a starter. Now he went out there to Los Angeles, got coaching by the great Sean McVay, and went to the Tampa Bay Bucks, which they were not picked to win anything this year. In fact, they were picked to go last in the division. In fact, Kyle Trask was supposed to be their quarterback. I remember one particular commentator, because I don't like name dropping. He said for Baker Mayfield to retire and be on the sports network. Y'all know who I'm talking about. We're not gonna say no name, but you know who I'm talking about. But for him to come from all of that to saying people saying that he should retire and become a college sports network analyst, for him to come back. And if it had not been, I'll say this before and I'll say it again, if it were not for the miracle of Damar Hamlin hanging over the heads of the NFL this year, Baker Mayfield is comeback player of the year.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have, like I said, kudos to Damar Hamlin, got a chance to play in that playoff game. However, it wasn't very, very successful, but I digress. But if it was not for that hanging over the heads of every single person in the minds and hearts in the NFL, Baker Mayfield is comeback player of the year. I mean, he came out and put on a clinic in a town that wasn't really expecting anything. This was technically a throwaway year. They was even talking about at the beginning of the year, were they going to be able to keep Mike Evans and Chris Godwin at the beginning of the year? Yep. So this is pretty much a throwaway year. So my heart goes with Baker. My mind, however, Jared Goff, especially for you to bring that town 2 consecutive home playoff wins after 30 years of not having one.
So here's something crazy. Had it gone the other way, say Baker doesn't move, they make the move to go get Deshaun, but they keep Baker in the room, right? And then Baker shows out because Deshaun gets hurt, right? Wins the job essentially, and they're paying $230 million to their backup. Like, that feels like one of the more Browns things that could have happened.
I mean, when you think about a lot of quarterbacks, when they left the Browns, they had success. Think about Jeff Garcia.
No, exactly.
He went to the Browns after San Francisco. He left. He not only took the Eagles to the playoffs, but took the Bucks to the playoffs, ironically. Right. So, think about, even Bernie Kosar, even when he left, he got a chance to be the backup in Dallas, won 2 critical playoff games for him to get his first Super Bowl ring. Ernest Biner, when he got a chance to leave the Cleveland Browns, he goes straight to the Washington football team. Guess what? Wins a ring in 1991. So this is not nothing new. I mean, hey, when you think about my main man, one of the greatest receivers in Atlanta Falcons history, Bad Moon Rising, he went to Cleveland on a record contract, went straight to Green Bay. What did he do? Won a ring. Yep. I'm just saying. Hey, the minute the original Cleveland Browns left town, what they do after that 4 years later? They won the ring.
So it's something about okay, so champ.
So the moral of the story is spend a year or 2 in Cleveland and go somewhere else. You'll find success.
Leave Cleveland. Hey, even LeBron had to leave Cleveland in order to win something. So
listen, I'm about to move to Cleveland just so we can start this podcast over. Okay, straight up. So how I do, boys. Let's look at the stats. Baker Mayfield, 26 of 41, 349 with a 94.5 passer rating. Then we got Jared Goff, 30 of 43, 287, 103.5 passer rating. But this is where I think the real stats are right here, ladies and gentlemen. We got Jahmyr Gibbs, 74 yards on the ground. David Montgomery, 33. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 77 yards reception and a touchdown. Sam Laporta, 65. And we got Sam Laporta, but going into the championship game, they got who? Who did they pick up? Another tight end? Didn't they pick
Zach
up
Ertz?
Zach Ertz? Yeah, they
Ertz.
picked up Zach Ertz. And then when we look at the other side, we look at the Buccaneers. Mike Evans balling out of control. He tried his best to seal the game, but I think they shouldn't have went for that one. With 8 receptions and 147, like Kay Cotton, Chris Godwin, all of these guys produced. Here's my point for just to seal off this one right here, guys. It was expected for eventually, Jared Goff has gone to a Super Bowl. You see what I'm saying? In my mind, Jared Goff has gone to a Super Bowl. The Detroit Lions were on the upswing. They were slated to do better, especially in their third year with the coaching regime and the quarterback and everybody being there all at the same time. To me, the bigger story is Baker Mayfield. And because once again, this is the land of misfit quarterbacks in this playoff round. Who nobody thought about it. Just like Champ mentioned, he was not slated to be the starter. Comes in, does his thing. All of a sudden, the team, the sideline, Mike Evans, everybody looks totally different. A whole wide receiver room was possibly not going to be there next year because they were told or said to be at the bottom of the division. But Baker Mayfield ignites them and puts a whole nother fire under them that I guess they didn't expect. And let's not forget, this defense is still pieces of the remaining defense that won the Super Bowl, bruh. Like, he went to a gourmet kitchen. You know what I'm saying? It's like literally like he was in a food truck because he was traveling so much. Get it? Food truck traveling. And then he went to the kitchen at the Masters. And oh my God, there's seasoning, there's pots, pans, a gas stove. He was probably amazed and he worked it to his better advantage. Yes, that's another food reference for me. I'm so sorry, you guys.
I would dare to say this is the best team he's had in his entire
literally
career.
That was my next words out.
Aside from, I would say Nick Chubb's far ahead of what Rachaad White is, but as a collective, this is probably the best team that Baker's ever had. Does
Baker Geno it next year? It's listen. This is I think the lead into him doing better. And this is my whole point about it is, for me, Baker Mayfield got that $1 million for taking them to the playoffs. And I think this is one of those times where they go, hey, look, I got a little bit, but I want more. So, and even in Baker's case, I think he's on a 1-year deal. I would not be surprised if we go ahead and, go ahead and franchise him. And I'm not mad at the franchise tag. Give me a whole $13 million, one whop of $13 million. It's guaranteed, through him not being injured. And I'll take it. But of course, I would be going, look, I'm going to play through 5 or 6 weeks so that we can extend me here because I love it here. Baker, I think Baker's a Southern guy. He needs to be in a Southern town. He needs that type of vibe to progress, and he needs those type of players around him. So kudos to all my Tampa Bay Buccaneer fans who, rode with the Baker Mayfield experiment through this juncture of his career.
I will say if there's one thing about this is that every team in the NFL that wanted Mike Evans did not like what they saw out of Tampa Bay this year because Mike Evans might be staying now after this year.
That was going to be my question, right? Do you franchise Baker or do you sign him for like a 3-year deal that has an easy out after the second year? Because you're still going to get him for relatively cheap, quarterback standards wise. And then, potentially throw that franchise tag on Evans. So he can't leave if you can't come to terms.
I would, and I'm with you on that one. I would definitely.
And I think Mike kind of wants to run it back, doesn't he? He kind of wants to run it back with Baker.
I think Mike wants. I think the words are Mike wants. Like now that everybody sees it, I think Mike wants to run it back. But I guarantee you, they're not going to meet on that number because Mike Evans has had another 1,000-yard reception season. They're not going to want to pay him the max, but they can go ahead and franchise him, and then midway through the season, give him a big signing for maybe 2 years, like give him the most in a 2-year span. That's how I see it. Now athletes are getting more to that. Look, I'm not going to be here 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years. Don't do me that way. But I'll take a strong 2, and then I'll be out on the 3rd if I want to. You know what I'm saying? And that also helps the organizations as far as the money goes, because a long time ago, prime time wanted all that money up front. Pay me now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Now these new age, players are going, okay, look, I'm gonna help you out, but I want that money that second year, whether I'm hurt or not. So I'm excited to see what goes on in Tampa Bay. Shout out to Primo Star. One of my cousins is a huge Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan. Oh, gentlemen, this was a slobber knocker. This was a cage match, tables, ladders, and chairs. This one was the Monday Night Raw main event, so to speak, and I couldn't wait to talk about this one. All right, Buffalo Bills and Kansas City Chiefs, 24-27. Was the game lost before right, or was that kick just the straw that broke the Buffalo's back? I'm telling you, because the worst words in Western Upper New York history, I swear, is wide right. And we'll get into it, but I was looking, they were showing the goalpost, and I was like, man, that windsock is moving hella fast right now. Call a time. I kept saying call timeout. Anyway, boys, tell me what you thought about this game. Kansas City, Buffalo Bills. Was it really the kick, or did they lose that way before? And I'm gonna get to why I say that. Alan, go ahead and jump on that first, bro.
I honestly thought they lost it before the kick, to be honest. Because let's look at it. They didn't score a single point in the fourth quarter. There was a lot of trouble that came out. Josh Allen, turned the ball over late in that game. They got the lucky bounce on the fumble at the goal line, which now Kansas City's fans are trying to lobby for that rule to be taken out, which, okay, it happens for Kansas City, but any other team that it happens to, it's just, you got to deal with it. But I digress. Anyway, but yeah, there was a lot of missed opportunities for the Bills in that game. It wasn't really just on the kick, although wide right are the two worst, like you said, they're the two worst words to hear in Buffalo, New York, in its team's history. So, I just think the Bills could have done a little bit more, especially in that fourth quarter. You're at home. You're against a team that you've been wanting to take it to for so long, and you let them outplay you in the fourth quarter. You let Travis Kelce basically take over that game. And that's kind of what won Kansas City that game, was that Travis Kelce kind of took over. MVS had his 2-catch game, his mandatory 2-catch game a year. There's a lot of things that went wrong for Buffalo, especially in that second half. So I think it was lost, but the kick definitely helped, but they definitely lost that game before the kick. You could have at least, there was a couple, the drop pass by Stephon Diggs, the miss by Josh Allen in the end zone. There's a lot of different opportunities the Bills had, and they just couldn't capitalize on it.
Man, okay. Bo, jump on it, bro.
Yeah, no, they definitely lost that before the game was over. It really started with that Diggs drop, right? Like, you could see the feeling on that sideline of, man, here we go, right? Like, yeah, exactly. Laces were in. But yeah, no, I mean, you watch that game and you could see the sideline where they were just like, man, what, like, we can't beat them, right? And it was way too early in the game to see a sideline get deflated like that. Now, they battled back, obviously, and they kept it interesting the whole time. Obviously, the kick matters, but yeah, you could tell that roster-wise, they should have won. KC doesn't exactly have a great offense the way it sits, right? Their defense is the best they've had, but their offense wasn't great. They were a very beatable team, and I would say this game was lost mentally, not physically.
Mm-hmm. I just saw this stat real quick. It said Buffalo had more time of possession, first downs, total yards, third downs, fourth downs, conversions. Kansas City had more turnovers, and they still lost that game.
So here's the
They
crazy.
basically outplayed Kansas City all game. It's just they lost that game.
Well, so only sort of, though, because when you look at total yards, it's 361 to 368. What's crazy is KC had 5 third downs total, which means they weren't even stopping them on first and second down. They were averaging almost 8 yards a play. I mean, KC was kind of doing whatever they wanted. So, yeah, I mean, it shouldn't have been that way with as good as the Bills defense typically is.
Champ, man, go ahead and tell us what you think about the game, bro.
What I don't like is this. Here's what I don't like. Everybody's blaming Josh Allen. Everybody's blaming him.
He had a good game.
He did.
And that's what I was about to say. Do y'all realize, and I want to put this out to everyone on this panel. Do y'all realize that he had the same stat line as Lamar Jackson, except he had one less touchdown?
Same exact line. There you go.
The same exact stat line.
Yeah.
And what's killing the Buffalo Bills, and let's just be honest. This is exactly
this right here is crazy. This right here is crazy.
This is what happens when they're in big games. They don't play how they would regularly play. They start reverting back to Josh Allen being plan A, plan B, plan C, and plan D. And my thing is, when your receivers are dropping balls like that, and it wasn't just that one. Another ball was dropped on the sideline. He dropped that one.
Will I be damned.
And then another one earlier in the game. Critical drops on critical field position. So we have to stop. The media needs to stop blaming Josh Allen just because he's the quarterback.
So what you're saying is the Bills became Kansas City for a game.
Basically.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we have to stop with that narrative. Oh, Josh Allen didn't come up. What more did you expect? So if you're going to take that narrative, if Lamar Jackson loses that game against C.J. Stroud and had that very same stat line, are we blaming him for the loss against the Houston Texans?
Of course the media is.
If we're going to take that stance.
Of course the media is. Because they wouldn't even be challenging his stat line. They'd just be like, "Oh, Lamar's not clutch. He can't win."
It would have been 1-4 in the playoffs. So
exactly.
They would be killing him right now.
And again, if you're a quarterback and you're playing well, your receivers are dropping balls. In the great words of the great Moore and Moon, I can't catch them too.
Exactly right.
I can't catch them too.
Exactly right.
You can't.
Let's stop that narrative of blaming Josh Allen for some of the shortcomings of his team. It's only so much that it's only so much. Hey, if you don't need when it comes to quarterbacks that prove that your quarterback can only do so much, and Josh Allen is falling into that same category, it's Dan Marino with the Miami Dolphins, and he's falling into that same category. And when it comes to these big games, why do you stop running James Cook? James Cook was on a roll earlier in the game. Why do you stop running him? Why do you keep trying to run Josh Allen?
And not to cut you off, Bo, but Champ, I was thinking, like, why did we sign Leonard Fournette? Wasn't it for games like this?
Exactly. So why are you not running the
another
ball?
water boy,
Why are you not running the ball with James Cook? Why are you doing these design plays for your quarterback to get hurt? Because you keep on dialing up, you keep on playing around the horse's mouth, like we say down south, you're eventually gonna get bit. And if Josh Allen goes out, you could kiss your franchise goodbye. Because hey, ain't nobody finna come into that new stadium. So hey, and another thing they need as well, the Buffalo Bills, you need a second receiver. Name one number one receiver in the league right now that doesn't have at least a solid number two receiver right behind. They keep right in on Stephon Diggs every play. And lo and behold, they proved the rest of the defense right. We shut down Stephon Diggs. These other guys are not going to come in and have clutch anything. We're just going to.
I was going to say they probably should have gone receiver instead of tight end.
The point is they got Dawson Knox and somehow, some way, when we get the two tight end 12-man man 12 formation, we thinking that it's a complementary to a dynamic wide receiver. But even the Ravens, if you look at a doppelganger situation for me, offensively, right? Look at the Ravens. They got Zay Flowers, Odell, Andrews. It's like
Isaiah Likely.
there's 4 or 5 names we really could throw out there for the Ravens. But when we think about offensively for the Buffalo Bills, it's literally just Josh Allen and them. You know what I'm saying? It's who on there? Who he play for? Oh, the Bills. He played with Josh Allen.
Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, and then you can put James Cook into that, but they're not using him the proper way, I believe. Hey, he should get at least 20 to 25 carries a game.
Right.
Give it to him. He's from Georgia. He's from the SEC. They don't fumble down there. If that's what you're thinking about, he had fumble problems early in his career, but as he's progressed, he's got better and better.
I mean, look at what happened in the game against Denver. He fumbled one time. They took him out for the entire game. They lost. You don't have that dynamic running game. You're going to lose to teams like Denver. So,
yeah. So that's what they need to stop doing. They need to get into a habit of not living and dying on the heel of Josh Allen. Because, hey, as you already seen with Dan Marino, you keep living and dying by a quarterback, you're going to die a lot more than you're going to live.
Would you guys compare? I know a lot of the people in the media are comparing this to Brady Manning of last generation, but I've heard people recently say that this team is more like the Phillip Rivers Chargers than Peyton Manning's Colts.
Even then,
do you agree that?
Even then, I will say this: there's no Antonio Gates on this team.
Mm-mm.
There's no Vincent Jackson on this team. There's sure as heck is no LaDainian Thompson, Michael Turner, or Darren Sproles on this team. My thing is this: we start talking about the guys who Brady beat. Those guys had a cornucopia of talent.
They had to go to try to beat Brady.
No, but the thing is, if you really look at it, the offense is more talented than Brady's defense.
Mm-hmm.
They had
hey kids, vocabulary word cornucopia. Goddammit, look it up.
So if you really look at that 2000, and if you really look at those early 2000s team, you had Marvin Harrison, Hall of Famer, Reggie Wayne, Hall of Famer, Brandon Stokely won a Super Bowl up there with the Baltimore Ravens in 2000. Not to mention, you had a Hall of Fame running back in Edgerrin James, and on the bench you had a Pro Bowler in Dominique Rose. How much do you need in order to win? Then on the defensive side, Marcus Washington, Dwight Freeney, Robert Mathis, Cato June, Nick Harper. What more do you need to win?
Dang, champ. I mean,
what more do you need to win?
You ain't had to lay it on us like that.
Hey, don't forget about Bob Sanders. Don't forget about Bob Sanders either.
Bob Sanders. And if you want to talk about those Phillip Rivers team, LaDainian Thompson, Michael Turner, Darren Sproles, Vincent Jackson. They even brought Keenan McCardell in one year. Antonio Gates, Sean Phillips, Sean Marion, Igor, Jamal Williams,
Antonio Cromartie.
How much more help? Then you had a Hall of Fame coach. Then you had a Hall of Fame coach in Marty Schottenheimer. Again, how much help do you need?
Were Cromartie and Rivers just trying to outduel each other to see who could have the most kids? Is that what was going on here?
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. The Chargers team, that era of the Chargers is why.
Good night, ladies and gentlemen. This is a late night show.
It's why that term "chargering it" is a thing, is because they had all of the talent in the world and found ways to lose.
Yeah, exactly.
I would say them getting rid of Marty Schottenheimer was stupid.
So
I will put that on the organization.
I would say they're more of like this generation's Dak. Oh wait,
yeah, right. You were just about to say it.
I mean, there have been people comparing him to Dak Prescott.
You know what he really is, though. You know what he really is he really is more akin to Brett Favre, right? Because they require him to do everything they require Brett Favre to do, right?
He is Brett Favre if Brett Favre could run.
Kind of, right? I mean, because he'll go out there and throw 4 picks in a game. Like, he'll do it. Josh Allen is 100% that guy that they put him out there to live and die on his arm, and he will do exactly what Brett Favre would do is he will force that ball because physically he can do it, right? Like he can launch that ball 70, 80 yards down the field. So he's going to put himself in a bad situation. And unfortunately, that team is going to fall for it because that's how they call plays.
And
Man,
even
listen.
with Brett Favre early in his career, he still had Antonio Freeman and Edgar Bennett in order to take pressure off of him. So, like I said, when people talk about, he's Peyton Manning, Josh Allen doesn't have that caliber of talent on his team. This defense is my age. The defense my age. I'm 37 years. I'm about to be 37. That defense is very, very old. It's open age. It's over the hill, and it needs some adjustments. And a lot of guys that are on that defensive side of the ball have no business with a long-term contract. I mean, if you really want to be honest about it. So we have to think about this. Is it really Josh Allen? Or is it kind of like what like I said, the Miami Dolphins did with Dan Marino? I don't have a defense. I don't have an offense really, except the Marx brothers. And then when the juice ran out on them, I didn't get you anybody else for them. I don't have anybody else to run the ball. So I get Keith Byers from the USFL, who only gives you one 1,000-yard season in his entire career down there. So I don't have an offense, defense, or any players at the skill position. And my offensive line is kind of questionable at this point. All right, Josh Allen, go win the game for me. Don't even worry about it. We got Josh Allen. Oh, what?
Oh, man. Listen, dog. Y'all went through it right there. Shout out to Champ, the human depth chart. I didn't even some of these players. I was like, I remember those names. But we started talking about Josh Allen. You know what I'm saying? Sean McDermott is one of those guys. Of course. We got to talk about Mike McCarthy. We got to talk about him. Sean McDermott being on the hot seat too.
You sure know how to piss on.
I will ask this with Josh Allen kind of getting the rep that he is, and then we're seeing people are now criticizing Justin Herbert for his play the last couple of years. Could C.J. Stroud jump one of these two guys next year? Maybe.
I mean, there's a possibility depending on who the coaching is at this point, because
it depends on where C.J. Stroud is playing. I would think, that's the big thing. Where is he playing?
And it depends on the coaching, because if you give Justin Herbert another Brandon Staley, I mean, hey, you better off put me out there on the field. And I ain't played football for 10 years. So, I mean, especially with Brandon Staley out there in the helm. Granted, like I said, it's only so much pressure you can put on your quarterback in order to win games. And when you're when you have a bad defensive scheme, and when you're putting Khalil Mack on Tyreek Hill, it's not going to work. I mean, you're putting a linebacker, an outside linebacker / defensive end on Tyreek Hill. And if you're doing that as a defensive coach, you do not need to be a defensive coach. You need to go back to the film room. And that is the gospel truth. So it depends on who the coach is. If he get a big time coach like a Jim Harbaugh or Bill Belichick or somebody like that, I can see Justin Herbert still being in that top 5 echelon. But if he doesn't get a big-time coach that's going to maximize his ability, like Jim Harbaugh did with J.J. McCartney and Alex Smith, not to mention Colin Kaepernick, then it's going to be a disaster. And guess what? That will be another quarterback that the Los Angeles Chargers have failed in their lifetime.
So one thing interesting about the Chargers is Pete Carroll has thrown his hat in the ring for that job.
Pete Carroll, shout out to Pete Carroll. Pete.
That would be pretty crazy, because that defense, for being one of the higher paid defenses in the league, it sure underperformed. For having a coach in Brandon Staley that's supposed to be a defensive guy, talk about having a horrendously bad defense.
I was going to say, you saw how our defense played against Green Bay. That's how the Chargers played all year.
Yeah,
that's basically what it was.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was amazing. I was calling for that man's job all year.
No, Charger fans were calling for his job last year.
Yeah.
Like after that bundle of a playoff loss to Jacksonville, they were like, fire this man now.
Oh,
get him out of here.
And
listen, I'm for sure he was the first coach getting fired this year.
Mm-hmm. And listen, you guys brought up some really key points. When I think about Buffalo, there are some really heavy hitters out there on that defensive line, and for it to underperform, it's crazy. And let me say this: I am a Von Miller fan. wasn't nothing like Von Miller in Denver, you know.
Sure.
And there's always hard to come back from, everybody isn't Adrian Peterson with an ACL or MCL tear. Nobody's like AP when it comes to that. But I'm looking forward.
He did both in the same year and came back.
Yeah, listen, the point was 3 weeks later, ESPN was in the weight room and AP was on one of those balancing balls, catching tennis balls with one hand. It blew my mind. But I digress as to say, man, I think, I have to look at what the Bleacher Report put down. I was on TikTok and I was on Twitter. The Bleacher Report put out that anime cartoon with the shout out to all my anime heads with the Dragon Ball Z voiceover with Goku. And Josh Allen was looking like Vegeta, and Patrick Mahomes was looking like Goku. Like, how is he still this strong? I trained harder than him, and somehow, some way, this is what prevails. Oh, I said Josh Allen too much. I just got a text from my insider. Excuse me. But once again, guys,
you just got a cease and desist.
Yeah. We got to move on from that one. But hey, look, classic game once again. Wide right, one of the worst words to say in Western Upper New York. But hey, I believe the Buffalo Bills will take a page from teams like Dallas, who somehow spent money on players in the offseason and said, hey, let's really put all the chips in the middle of the table, like the LA Rams. And it was quoted that if McDermott goes, let's see if old Uncle Bill ends up in Buffalo instead of having to do a complete rebuild in Atlanta. All right, so moving on, boys. Championship weekend. We're going to talk about the key to victory in both of these two games. And you can pick either one. You can talk about both of them, whichever. We're at an hour and a half right now. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to RecRoom Sports Podcast. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. Shout out to Jay. And Jay, like I said in the last one, you're measuring. I got that. Your measuring tape, I got that. I think I got your level in the back of my truck too, because I know you might need that to make sure that the mirrors are in the right directions and everything. But anyway, so boys, we got two championship games on Sunday for us to look forward to. And I ain't gonna lie to you, this is one of those where, like, if they could go either way, they literally can go either way. Okay, so let's check this out. We're gonna go start at the top right here. AFC Championship. Kansas City Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens at 3 on Sunday. And we in Baltimore. So, of course, we got the go-go music playing. We got the Blue Crab outside for the tailgate. I don't know if y'all see on TikTok, they got those guys who always dance at the Deezers and Encore. They shout out to those guys. I follow them too. When we look at the Kansas City Chiefs, the Baltimore Ravens, two totally different teams opposite on the spectrum. Mahomes is up here. They got Lamar up there. The quarterback battles. Like, what are we thinking as far as keys to victory for this game? Who wants to go first? I'll let y'all go first.
Go ahead, champ.
Okay.
The
key to victory this game is going to be defense on both sides of the ball. Mm-hmm. Because it's going to depend on who stops the greatest weapon of either team. Mm-hmm. And that being Patrick Mahomes for the Kansas City Chiefs, that being Lamar Jackson for the Baltimore Ravens. Now, here's another key. Is Mark Andrews going to be playing? And is Humphreys going to be playing? Because they're going to have to stop Rashid Rice and stop the middle of the field. So those are the keys to victory at this point, and also the running game. You cannot let either team start running wild in the running game. That is going to be a key position in order to stop anything, because field position is going to be a huge part of this game. Do not be surprised. Do not be surprised if this be a 17-10 type of game. Do not be surprised, because I don't see this, especially depending on the weather, I don't see this being a high-scoring going blow for blow game. This is going to be a defensive game. And that defense for the Kansas City Chiefs, headed off by Chris Jones, is a lot better than people think it is. Mm-hmm. But I will say this. It's do or die for the Baltimore Ravens this year. All of those free agents that you got, including your defensive tackle, Justin Metabuke, Patrick Queen, all of those guys, you might lose them next year. You can't pay everybody. This ain't baseball. So you better do something while you can. Plus, next year, hey, Joe Burrow's back.
Uh-oh.
Joe Burrow's back.
Uh-oh.
And depending on who the Pittsburgh Steelers drafted their quarterback, they're a quarterback away. They're a quarterback away from being very, very competitive. So
say it again, man. Say it again. Who's one quarterback away?
The Pittsburgh Steelers with Mike Tomlin are a quarterback away, a decent quarterback. You ain't got to have a world beater. A quarterback, a game manager that doesn't make mistakes.
A Kirk Cousins.
Yes. They're a quarterback away from making a deep playoff run. Because even with decent quarterback play, they've been at the door. Quarterback play, boom. They're busted wide open, no pun intended. So, hey, you gotta watch. So you gotta watch. You gotta watch. You gotta watch it next year. Next year, everybody's gonna be back in that division. The slate is clean. And for Lamar, hey, you gotta win this game. You gotta at least make it to the Super Bowl. Otherwise, hey, it's gonna be a huge blemish on your record, because how come you didn't win with a triple crown with the triple crown defense? They gave you all these weapons, plus you got your main weapon back at the end of the season. So they're gonna be asking a lot of questions about why you didn't win. So you might want to go ahead and go for broke while you can. Go ahead and get that monkey off your back while you can.
Yeah, I think you're right there. Like, especially if they lose this weekend, right? For whatever reason, then Lamar gets buried. There's no doubt. You have too many weapons on that team. I don't think that's how that goes down, though. KC hasn't been able to move the ball very effectively, and you're going against a Ravens team that only gave up 280 points all season. So, I mean, yeah, that is a stacked team. So,
one more time.
280 points all season. That's first in the NFL as far as points allowed. So they're not going to put up points on that team. It's just of the two games, the only one that might be a lopsided game could be this Ravens game, because they came out, they had some rust. I don't think they're going to this next week. And that defense is no joke. It is stacked, and they have all the weapons on their team. So when it comes to the Ravens, KC, I think KC gets their trip home. So there's going to be no Eminem versus Taylor Swift in the Super Bowl. So going to be none of that. But yeah, I think the Ravens go. And then on the other side, it really depends on Debo, right? If he's healthy, that Lions secondary has some issues. You can score on it. You can move the ball. And if you got Debo, he's that guy that can take the top off for you. So if Debo is available, I think the Niners, being a home game, they could edge him out. If Debo isn't there, the Lions win this game.
Why? Can I ask this question before we move forward?
Of course.
I have to. This is something that has been bothering me all day.
Yep.
Why? Everybody's saying if Debo plays, that they win, when you have so many weapons at your disposal already without him.
Yeah, so I'll tell you exactly why. That 3-game skid.
No Debo.
And not only that, you only gave Christian McCaffrey the ball 10 times a game that year. During that stretch.
No, I know. The thing is for whatever reason, when Debo isn't there, they change their game plan in such a way that they lose games. Do they have the talent to play without him? Absolutely. They don't have the game plan for it for whatever reason. For Shanahan being this absolute genius guy that they say he is, for whatever reason, when Debo's not in, they can't effectively run their offense the same.
And that's more of an indictment on Kyle Shanahan than anything.
100%.
The thing is this. It's like you have Brandon Ayuk, all-pro, George Kittle, all-pro, Christian McCaffrey, all-pro. Outside of Debo, which has been injured, you have those 3 guys have basically been carrying it the entire season.
I was going to say, you know who else they were missing that time? Trent Williams.
They were missing
Trent Williams being out hurt them too. With him being back, it's definitely helped the offensive line for sure.
Yeah, but the thing is, you have to ask yourself this: why is the media already saying, "Well, Deebo Samuel is out"? You have three all pros on the offensive side of the ball at the skill position.
I know.
You have three all pros.
The thing that's funny is, without Deebo, they can match up defensively okay, right? Like it's still a game that could go either way. Like I don't think it would be a Lions blowout if Deebo isn't there, right? Like I think that's going to go down to the wire regardless. But with Deebo there, it adds an element that secondary of the Lions can't quite cover. Without him, it becomes a much more even match. Because what three weapons are is not four.
Listen, in my mind, this is going to be that matchup right there where, when we get the pieces together and the stars align and Saturn is, facing Jupiter and the sun is in retrograde or whatever, somehow, some way, the Baltimore Ravens have to use this opportunity and capitalize on a weaker or less fundamentally sound Kansas City Chiefs team. Okay. And that's just me. Normally I try to be very neutral, but in this case, when we're talking about going into the Super Bowl, the stars have somewhat aligned for the Ravens to win and literally squeak. When I say squeak, I mean squeak by the Kansas City Chiefs, because the ghost of Patrick Mahomes haunts everybody everywhere. I don't care where you are.
Unless you're Joe Burrow. Unless you're
Joe Burrow, right? Somehow, some way, the rushing attack, they added. So we were talking about James Cook. They added Dalvin Cook, right? The defensive line has looked even scarier with Jadeveon Clowney waking up in the postseason. And of course, y'all know, in that last game, he played his former team, which was the Texans. This is the time of year where the year before, when it was Buffalo, they wanted Von Miller to attack Patrick Mahomes in the fourth quarter. I think Jadeveon Clowney will be the X factor in this game and somehow find a way to get a tax on him.
I would not put money on Clowney being the difference maker.
I would say more so Roquan. I would say more so Roquan Smith than Jadeveon.
See, when I say that, I say this: Jadeveon Clowney doesn't have to get the sacks, but if y'all notice, I think one of the other things that the Ravens are like tops in is balls batted down at the lines of scrimmage, because they push that line of scrimmage so close to the quarterback that the timing is thrown off and they get that ball off. And y'all know Jadeveon Clowney is a huge person. Roquan Smith, another huge person. I think that they'll have an influence on where Patrick Mahomes goes with the ball, and the time he has to stand in the pocket. He's going to have to make a lot of those off-schedule, get out of the pocket, where's Travis Kelce throws in Baltimore. And I like that.
The thing that's good about Mahomes, though, is he's probably one of the best at a quarterback hurry still being a completed pass.
Yes. And the quarterback hurry still being a completed pass, and him and Travis Kelce going, here's the space in the zone. I'm just going to wait for you to see me. I'm going to slow down. I'm going to turn around. And by the time I know you're running, I'm right there with you. Him and Travis Kelce have that. One of the things I really liked last week about Kansas City's, game plan was, okay, here's where they played. Where's Travis Kelce? Up, he's in the backfield. Up, he's lined up on the line of scrimmage. Up, he's off the line of scrimmage. Up, he's catching the screen. When you use your weaponry, and Andy Reid is the best, bar none, all time, let's say, because right now Shanahan's really good at using his weapons really good. But like Andy Reid historically is one of the best at that. I think that is what you have to, counteract with Baltimore's defense. Can it work? Yes. In some way, somehow, it's going to be Zay Flowers is going to have to shine. It's a little bit, Zay Flowers is going. Odell Beckham, you're going to have to show him the Odell Beckham. You know what I mean?
He's good for 1 or 2 plays a game.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's got to get the one. All Odell needs is one, and it erupts the offense. So, Alan, you got the key to the game on this one. What you thinking?
Well, looking back at Baltimore this season, what did they? Obviously they've been best known for their defense, but what are some of the things that stand out? They've done really well at shutting down elite offenses this year. 3 games in particular: Detroit Lions 38-6, completely shut down Detroit's offense. 2 of the last 3 weeks of the season, Francisco 33-19, shut the second to last week of the season, Miami Dolphins 56-19. These are supposedly some of the top offenses. Miami was one of the top scoring offenses in the league. Obviously it's because they had 70 in one game, but
that defense was suspect though. Mm-hmm. I mean, you could score points on Miami.
I was going to say, but this defense knows how to shut down elite offenses, and they have the skill players to do it. And I really don't think Kansas City matches up with this team. I think if there's one thing that Baltimore is thankful of, they're thankful for Houston, because had they got Cleveland in round 1 and round 2, that is a matchup I would be very terrified of if I'm a Baltimore Ravens fan. I would have not wanted to see Cleveland, because Cleveland, I think, defensively matches up very well with Baltimore. Yeah. It's hard for me to say. That is true. But I agree with Champ. It's going to come down to the defenses for both sides. I'm leaning more towards Baltimore because I think their defense has the players and the tools to keep Patrick Mahomes in check. I think they have a game plan for Travis Kelce. And if you if you just shut down Travis Kelce, the only other person Patrick has to go to is Rashee Rice, who, yes, he's playing great, but you're only going to get maybe 1 or 2 catches from MVS. You're going to get a couple drop passes from Tony if he's even playing.
I don't think he's playing.
I don't think so either. Yeah. I don't even know if Hardman's playing. So who else? It's like we were talking about earlier with Buffalo. You have Rashee Rice, who's your number 1 target, and you kind of have Travis Kelce, who was hit or miss most of the season. He had probably his best game last year, but who else do you have on offense other than him and Isaiah Pacheco? You really don't have anything else. It's all it's just going to be is, Patrick's going to run around a little bit. I think the key to stopping Mahomes is going to be Patrick Queen. I'm going to have Patrick Queen be a spy on Patrick Mahomes and follow him all over the field. That guy's got speed, and you talk about SEC defenses, him coming from LSU. He's gonna make some plays, I think. So keep an eye on that.
Man, listen, this is a tough one, boys, and of course we're getting to that time of the show where it's way too early, but we're gonna have to make some picks. All right, so AFC Championship game, boys. Kansas City Chiefs, Baltimore Ravens, for all the marbles. Well, not all of them. All the marbles in the division. Who we gonna put
Ravens? Going Ravens.
Yep. Who you got, Bo? I mean, wait, not Bo, but who you got, Champ?
Quote the Raven, nevermore.
I like that one. We got in the comments. Who you got in the comments? Make sure you put it on the screen so we can share it with everybody. We got Rob. Thanks for riding with us all show, Rob. We appreciate it. I know you're
the team formerly known as the Cleveland Browns.
That's right. Listen, he's a Seahawk, so he's gonna go with another bird. So definitely going with the Ravens.
He's a good buddy of mine. I've known him for 20 years.
Shout out
Ravens 31-21.
Well, I think it's closer than that. I'm on 21-17. And I'm thinking Ravens too, bro. I'm really thinking if they play keep away and keep Patrick Mahomes just keep him off the field. If they tell everybody, hey, get the first down and lay down. Yeah, get the first down and slide. Get the first down to go out of bounds. I don't care what you do, but I don't even care about scoring in this one. But I just don't want Patrick Mahomes to have a chance to win, because that was I wrote that down, but I think that was what I was going to say for the Buffalo Kansas City game. They gave Patrick too many chances to get back onto the field and win. I think if the Ravens play keep away, and I like how they added Dalvin into that running game. He looked really good in that third and fourth quarter when they gave him like 4 or 5 runs. I'm seeing the Ravens on this one, man. So Lamar, pack your bags. Let's keep it going, fellas. We on a roll right now. Boom. So let's go ahead, man. Take it to the Motor City, man. We're gonna take the Motor City. We're gonna take it all the way to San Francisco. The Detroit Lions and the San Francisco 49ers, Sunday, 6:30. This is one of the more interesting games of the whole playoffs to me. So let's think about it. Keys to success for either team, for Detroit, San Francisco. Alan, I'll let you go first, bro.
Lions have to have an effective running game. They have to keep the ball away from San Francisco. It's going to be very, very tough to do because 49ers have a great run-stopping defense. I love both of their linebackers. They play very, very well. I think David Montgomery finally playing behind a great offensive line. You're seeing what he's able to do in the running game. That 1-2 punch with him and Gibbs has been great all year. I think Sam Laporta is going to have a big game. Jared Goff cannot turn the ball over. I think that's the main thing. If Jared Goff turns the ball over even once, I think the Lions are in trouble, because this 49er team, when they get a turnover, they usually turn it into points. So that is something they have to be very, very wary of. And going into San Francisco's tough. Trust me, I know. That team, so I really do think that if they run the ball effectively and they keep the ball out of Brock Purdy's hands, this team's going to have a chance to win this game. And also the question, and I know we brought it up already, will Debo be healthy? How much is he going to, be effective in this offense? What is CMC going to do? They're going to have to get a good passing game. I think the 49ers have to be able to pass the ball effectively, because let's face it, this Detroit Lions secondary is suspect. They've had a lot of passing yards put on them. I mean, even Baker Mayfield kind of tore him apart. He had 349 against this Lions secondary in the divisional round game. So that's going to be something, to keep an eye on. So I think if I'm the Detroit secondary has to step up big on defense. So don't let Brock Purdy have time. Get a pass rush in there. If Detroit really wants to win this game, there's 2 things: run the ball effectively, get to Brock Purdy. That's what you do.
I like it, fellas. When we go keys to victory for the team, Champ, what you thinking?
Attack the middle of the field, just like you did against Baker Mayfield and that Tampa Bay Bucks defense. And for everyone who's saying that, the Detroit Lions are overmatched, I get down about 5 notches, because guess what? Amon-Ra St. Brown is their Deebo Samuels. Florida is their George Kittle.
Mm-hmm.
And although they don't have a Christian McCaffrey, David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, hey, you can't key in on both of them. So look for some decoy plays where both of them are in the lineup. Look for them. Remember I told you. So, for that, and then you got to think about on the defensive side. The Lions middle linebacker, he's their Fred Warner.
Yeah.
Let's not forget who a Super Bowl appearance would mean the most to on the Detroit Lions team. Aiden Hutchinson is their Bosa, but a hell of a lot more intense. So both of them are from the Big Ten, by the way, but I digress. But hey, this is probably one of the more evenly matched. And plus, you got to think about the 49ers did not play well last week against the Green Bay Packers. They didn't play well. It wasn't a big time where, they beat them decisively. It wasn't where Brock Purdy had this excellent game. There was a lot of flaws. The Christian McCaffrey had game that he'd had. Otherwise, you'd probably be sitting at the house this week with more questions than answers. So, because, hey, a lot of your flaws are camouflaged when you lose, when you win, more so than when you lose. So you got to think about that as well. So the key to victory for the San Francisco 49ers side, give Christian McCaffrey that football. Stop being so heavily reliant on Deebo Samuels and that passing game. And once you get the Detroit Lions down, go ahead and do like you didn't do when you was the offense coordinator for the Falcons. Do like you didn't do when you was in the Super Bowl, and do like you didn't do when you was in that NFC Championship just a couple of years ago, and run the ball. Stop being so hell-bent on trying to pass. You went and traded and got all that big money for Christian McCaffrey for a reason. Let him run on that great offensive line and try to tear these guys apart on the line of scrimmage. Tire out Aiden Hutchinson. Tire out some of these big guys that they have on the Detroit Lions front seven. Try to tire them out. It makes no sense for you to try to keep passing when you have a running back of that caliber. For the Detroit Lions, keep the ball away from that high-powered offense. If Deebo Samuels plays, hey, going to my running backs and say, hey, y'all are going to be a big part of this game. Defense, I'm depending on you to stop them. Hey, CJ Gardner, I'm depending on you to check the number one receiver. We're going to scheme around the other guys, but we're going to put you on Deebo Samuels. And we're going to make a scheme around him to make sure he's not effective in that screen game or those little out routes that he likes to run. So those are the keys to victory. Running game, Deebo Samuels, keep away.
Oh, man.
For Dan Campbell, do not coach over emotional. Do not overthink your decision making as the head coach in this game.
It's kind of easy to outcoach Kyle Shanahan if you really want to be honest. 4 coaches have done it the past couple of years. It's kind of easy. So I mean,
it is. But you look at what he, not saying that it was controversial, but it kind of cost them the game in Dallas. It kind of cost him a couple games, throughout the season where he's kind of coaching with a little bit more emotion than he's used to. It almost cost them the game against the Rams in the playoffs last couple weeks ago. Had it fallen apart against Tampa Bay, it would have cost them there too. So just keep a level head, stick with your game plan. Like Champ said, run the ball, keep that ball away from San Francisco and go win it by playing Detroit Lion football. That's basically what it is.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing with some of those games that were losses or were close to it is that Lions secondary can get picked on. They give up yards. So, I mean, you're going to need one of the best games that secondary's put together for them to win this game. Everything else you guys are saying, absolutely. You got to be able to put pressure on Purdy. You got to, embrace your running game. Like all of that stuff has to be true. But man, that secondary really has to play out of their minds this weekend.
Man, okay, listen, you guys hit the nails on the head. I think these were all key factors in wins or who wins or how to win. Brock Purdy has to be play sound. They are in San Francisco. They are outside. I would have much rather probably seen them inside where the elements won't play a factor. But, of course, they will be in Levi Stadium, of course. Gentlemen, way too early. But who we picking for this championship game?
Why not? Let's go bite some kneecaps. Give me Detroit.
I like that. Okay.
Detroit 2017.
Champ.
Kyle Shanahan.
It's time.
It's time. Are you going to prove me a lie or are you going to prove me right? Kyle Shanahan finally goes to the Super Bowl again. And depending on what happens in the AFC Championship, wins it.
Ooh.
Wow. Okay.
Ooh.
Depending on what happens in the NFC Championship.
Depending on what happens in the AFC. Okay, got you. What are we thinking?
I'm thinking we see a Ravens-Lions Super Bowl. Let's do this thing.
Listen, You know, everybody.
Can you believe the emotion in the city of Detroit if they actually make it?
Listen to me. I was listening out. I was just about to say that I watched that game. And shout out to Freebird Feather Freebird. Appreciate you for tuning in, checking in on us, man. Listen, I watched that game, their first win, and I talked about it last week. They showed that old man. He had to be like all of 75. He had like the 1965 Lions jacket on. And he was crying, bro. He was crying. It touched me. Okay. So for that matter and that matter only, for that old man to see his Lions in the Super Bowl before he passes away, I'm definitely going Lions on this one. I trust me, I want to see Brock Purdy succeed just like the next man. I want Jared Goff to go in there and do something.
I do have a little bit of underlying. I don't want the Niners to hang a banner on us next year, so I don't want them in the mix.
I can see. I know what you mean. I know what you mean on that one. I mean, I would hate for the Ravens to win the Super Bowl, but you know, I digress. It is.
Let me ask you guys this: is the curse of Bobby Lane finally over in Detroit?
To be honest with you, it would really depend on if they let these general managers and if they continue to let these coaches do what they do, because a lot of these things that happen in Detroit wasn't on the players. They've drafted some great players. I mean, and I think that a lot of players that they drafted don't get a lot of credit because of one star player, one or two. You know, when you think about the 90s, you always talk about Barry Sanders, but what about Herman Moore? He had the receptions record. What about Brett Pierman? He came from the University of Miami. What about, Lomas Brown, who's eligible for the Hall of Fame right now? What about Kevin Glover, who's eligible for the Hall of Fame right now? So there's a lot of players who the Detroit Lions let go, not only during that era, but also during, also you had the Matt Millen mistake. You had the Matt Millen mistake. You had a lot of general managers before him that was just constantly making mistakes, and you made the wrong coaching choices when you hired Rod Marinelli, some of those guys like that from the Bill Belichick trees as usual, trying to recreate the Patriot way, and Steve Mariucci when he was on his last leg after leaving San Francisco. So I think it had a lot less to do with the players and a lot to do with the front office, because if you look at some of the players they drafted Shawn Rodgers. He's a 6-time Pro Bowler. You look at Kevin Jones, they drafted him. He was a Pro Bowler. You look at Roy Williams before he kind of went to Dallas and fell off a cliff. He was a Pro Bowler.
Oh boy, did he!
Yeah, he went to the he went to the Dallas and fell off the cliff and fell at the end and did a tumble. So before he went to Dallas, he
got passed up by Miles Austin. Let that sink in.
Yeah, let that sink in. During the Kardashian reign. Figure that one out. So, hey, during the Kardashian reign, remember the Kardashian curse was big back then.
Huge.
But they've had a lot of talented players on that Detroit Lions come through that Detroit Lions franchise. They just was not able to get them the proper coaching that they needed, and they were not able to build on. Remember when they had Nick Fairley and Ndamukong Suh, two big-time defensive tackles in the middle. They couldn't build around them in order to get everything done. Ernie Sims was a pretty decent player when he came out of Florida State. Just couldn't develop him right. So it has a lot to do.
Suh, you almost didn't have to, because he was going to try and murder everybody.
The thing is, I don't think Suh really. Here's my thing. I don't think Suh really practiced or trained that hard in the offseason. I really don't believe he trained that hard. I believe it was just brute strength. And you saw it as time went along, the league kind of caught up with him. And that's the reason why he wasn't effective when he went during his later years in Miami and, when he went to other teams. The league kind of caught up with him. Whereas Jared McCoy, who he was drafted before, you knew he had his fundamentals on lock. And as he started getting older, you started seeing the fundamentals. But as Ndamukong Suh wasn't able to run over everybody in the league, then, you start seeing a lot of his flaws. Excuse me.
Yeah, listen, man, a lot of it was character flaws. Like he was a dirty player, to say the least.
I mean, was he really dirty or was he just old school football? I mean, they didn't.
I mean,
Nobody
He
would.
was spirited. He was a spirited player.
Nobody
and
really
it was
thought
a
of it when
time.
me and Joe Green was doing it. Nobody really thought of it when a lot of our favorite players were doing it. So I mean just because it's in the modern era, we can't turn a blind eye and say a lot of things.
No,
I was going to say since Sue left, Nebraska hasn't been the same ever since. So, just saying.
I mean, but they did. Like when you think back to watching film of 70s guys, stuff like that. When they stomped on somebody, you were like, it's kind of dirty though. I mean, it's how it was played then, but it was still dirty.
I mean, it's like, well, like I said, it's like some of the hits that we used to see back in the 2000s, we would deem it dirty nowadays. That's Bush League.
Roy Williams.
You know what? Funny story about him. My father used to love Roy Williams coming out of Oklahoma, especially when he played in Dallas and did the horse. He actually used to like it when he did the horse count because he would put all his weight down and come down, which it was the funniest thing ever.
And as a Steeler fan, I remember Ryan Clark being shot out of the backfield like a missile at players' foreheads, and we can't do that anymore.
Hey, Miles, not mention High Ward out here breaking people's jaws, having them look like RoboCop for the rest of the year.
Or seeing Troy jump over the entire defense and offensive lineman.
The entire offensive and defensive line. I mean, but look, guys, we get into that. We're getting right into that second hour. Don't forget, I want to give a big shout out to everybody up there watching us right now. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the RecRoom Sports Podcast and follow all of my guys here right now. Damn brain damage. Yeah, CTE. Speaking of CTE, I saw something crazy last week. I think I shared it with you guys because it made me laugh. But, gentlemen, of course, it is way too early, but I think somehow, some way, we have come to the conclusion that in this Super Bowl, we are thinking the Ravens. I think we're all on that bandwagon, and Detroit. We got one for San Francisco. Yep. But I think that we will reconvene about these findings next week and see exactly what took place, man. Because I'm excited. I think these games are going to be great. Once again, this is like the who's who of. Don't nobody want me. Didn't nobody want to draft me. They don't want me on their team anymore. Now I'm going to try and take them to the Super Bowl.
Well, unless it's Patrick Mahomes, in which case Chicago's just like, oh, crap.
Remember, even in Patrick Mahomes' case, the Bills gave up them picks to Kansas City so they could. So the Bills didn't want Patrick Mahomes. No, so once again, don't nobody want me. They didn't want me, so now I got to show them. Let's see what we got. Vegas, $50 on Detroit. Take the points. I like that. Thanks, Rob. We're gonna put that to the test.
Of course, Tanner's choosing the Chiefs. Of course he is.
Of course.
To hit the one that he asked before, would I put paper on that in Vegas? Pizza money. I'd put pizza money on it. That's it.
Laundry money.
Right? Yeah.
Of course you'd say the Chiefs, Tan. We know where your heart is when it comes to that one, man. We already knew. But
too much brain damage for having to wear that cheese head for the last few weeks.
Well, in fact, the way that he wrote it out, it actually makes sense that brain damage is a comment directly above it.
Hey, you got to think about this too, guys. They didn't want Lamar Jackson not once, but twice.
True.
Mm-hmm.
Well, twice, man. Hey, look, we said it all. We covered everything on this one. We got the divisional round. We got the championship round. We got possible playoff predictions. I mean, not playoff, but Super Bowl predictions already in the books. I mean, what else can we talk about today, fellas? Matter of fact, Alan, tell us what you got going on for the rest of the week, bro.
So, NFC East Roundtable tomorrow night with myself, Jay, Chris, and the Mad New Yorker himself, Carlos Chavez. We'll be talking about some of the offseason stuff that each team needs to deal with, coaching stuff, what's going on in Washington right now, what the hell are the Giants doing, losing, Wink Martindale. Are the Eagles going to be poaching coordinators from within the division now, it looks like. So it'll be interesting to talk about that. one-on-one with AP. My interview show will be back on Saturday. And speaking of Carlos, Matt New Yorker will be my guest on Saturday. So check that out. That's actually going to be at 9 a.m. Eastern on Saturday morning. So check that out as well. And then maybe a couple other things here and there. I know we just started our wrestling show with myself and Mr. First Down. So we'll figure out a day for that because, SmackDown on Friday, Royal Rumble on Saturday, might have to do it on Sunday. So, but yeah,
Hey,
a lot coming up. Also, shout out Adrian Beltre, Hall of Famer, first ballot Hall of Famer in Major League Baseball.
I was about to say that.
That's my guy. That's my guy. So I got to shout out Adrian Beltre. So, congratulations to him.
Big news in the world of WWE. They got that $5 billion contract with Netflix. Billion. Sorry, you got to shoot when you say billion. $5 billion contract with Netflix for Raw in 2025. So y'all definitely got to make sure y'all drop that in
also,
there.
The Rock is on the board of directors at TKO now.
Y'all didn't know The Rock was on the board of directors? The Rock is everywhere. Okay.
He's at the head of the table now. Wink.
Literally. All right, champ, what we got going on for you the rest of the week, my guy?
The inaugural episode
SAT words
of the Undisputed GOAT podcast.
Oh no, and I can't hear him now.
Wait, yeah, the bomb. I'm sorry. The bomb was such a big announcement. The bomb just muted you. Say it again. Inaugural. Go.
The inaugural episode of the Undisputed GOAT podcast will be airing Thursday night at 9:00 prime time, Eastern Standard Time. We have a star-studded cast, getting the cast ready for you guys. I've done a podcast with these guys before on their shows. I can't wait to bring them on my platform, and we can see how we can entertain you guys. Secondly, shout out to PSP doing his show Friday night. His show will also be at 9:00 on Friday night. So Thursday, Undisputed GOAT podcast. Friday, Sports PSP podcast. Remember to like and subscribe. He is on YouTube as well. Sunday, we'll be going live on TikTok in order to discuss the AFC and NFC championship during the game.
Ooh.
Not to mention, look out. We had stopped the series for a minute because we was trying to write the storylines on the game. Well, I was writing the storylines on the game. Been on vacation this week. Had a little bit of time on my hands. Right. So I wrote the storyline for every team and how a Super Bowl would mean, what a Super Bowl would mean to each franchise. Go check that out. And we will start back up State of the Franchise with the New England Patriots tomorrow evening at 5:00. That video will be out on TikTok at 5:00 in the evening.
That's what's up. My guy, Uncle Bo, what we got going on for you the rest of the week?
It's a busy week, so we'll just go with tomorrow. You can pretty much hang out with me all day tomorrow. It kicks off at 6 a.m. and I'm going to be on camera for about 7 hours throughout the day tomorrow. So pretty much anytime you got time, come hang out.
Hey, man, that's what's up. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe, and follow Football Talk with Bo on YouTube. We got my guy, Undisputed World Champ GOAT on YouTube. I had to look for it twice, so I couldn't find it the first time. Make sure you follow him on YouTube. We got Alan Peralez on Twitter/X. It's down there, scrolling at the bottom of the screen. And me, don't forget, tomorrow we got Hit Kicks and Haymakers with my guy, Nick Bodkins. We're going to talk about Dricus Du Plessis, the new middleweight champion after UFC 296 over the weekend. It was great. Friday, we got LTS in the hoop. We're going to talk basketball, and more. Basketball, I can't wait for that. And then this weekend, bro, I'm watching football. I ain't got too much else going on. I'm going to tell you the truth.
Don't forget the Royal Rumble.
Oh,
yeah, Royal Rumble. Hell yeah.
Hey, look, that's on Alan's side of the world right there. And you know what I'm saying? We're gonna catch up with Jay. 7 hours where it depends. Bo don't move at all.
There's some gaps in between. So like it goes from 6 to 7, then 9 to 11, and then let's see, 11 to 12, and then there's a 3-hour show to wrap up the day.
Woo, I'm telling you, I'm always like, man, like Bo is a monster. Like I don't know what kind of energy drink he takes, but I got to get me some. But guess what, boys? I got to let y'all know.
I wish you had more time.
Y'all know what time it is, man. We got to get up out of here. It's been 2.5 hours. But, yo, it was great. I had a great time. Don't forget to watch these football games. Like, share, subscribe. Put your answers in the comments for your boy because we want to read them. We want to tell them who's going to be in the Super Bowl, and we're going to discuss it next week, man. Yo, it's your boy K-Witch. You know how we do each and every week. Thanks for watching, and, yo, we're going to hit this button because we about to go.